Welcome to the Steve and Bethany podcast.
It's your weekly dose of hope, encouragement, and a whole lot of fun.
All right, let's get to it.
It's episode 9.
Welcome into the Steve and Bethany Hopecast. We are glad that you are joining us wherever in the world that you are. And I say that because we literally have had people listening around the world. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But first, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Did you have a good 4th?
I did, yeah. I went out with my husband's whole side because they own some land about 45 minutes outside town. And so we shot off fireworks, cooked out, played kickball. This is the thing. This was the most, least eventful 4th of July, because normally when my husband's family gets together and play kickball, some kind of argument breaks out because the one side will accuse the other side of cheating, and it always ends in some kind of argument. And this year we had some newcomers. There was, cousins bringing girlfriends, and neighbors came
everybody
over.
Was on their
so
best
everybody
behavior.
was on their best behavior, and it was not confrontational, which I was okay with.
Now,
I was fine with it.
Now, it seems like I remember one classic video we have on Patreon where you actually shot an AR-15 at one of these events.
That wasn't 4th of July.
But it was at that same field though, right?
It was, yeah. They have basically a gun range there. And so, yeah, I did, and it scared the living daylights out of me.
We have video evidence that our patrons get to see
so scary.
at patreon.com/Steve and Bethany's Hopecast. Okay, before we get into our topic for today, which is all about Enneagrams. Look how cool we are talking about Enneagrams. Let's first bring up our contest, the Win One, Give One. There you see, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the custom-made cup that we've got, the Steve and Bethany Hopecast. It's beautiful marble, kind of red and purple and white and all kinds of different little colors in there. Really nice. You'll be able to have it customized with your monogram, plus a $50 Amazon gift card. Oh, but that's not all.
Well, you may have heard us call this the Get One, Give One. So you're going to get a tumbler for yourself, customized, and the gift card from Amazon. But also, you'll get a second tumbler and a second gift card that you can give to a friend and really brighten up their day.
Okay, and here's the thing. You have basically a week left to register.
A week and some change.
We are going to draw a winner on July 20th. 2020, and we are going to call that person. So if you have registered for the contest or are planning on doing so, you got to put your phone number in there as a part of the registration, because when we draw a winner, we're going to be calling.
And if you get any calls on July 20th from a number that you don't recognize, go ahead and answer.
Answer the call, even if you don't recognize the number. That's the
little
the key
insider
right there.
tip. Yeah,
that's the key right there. Okay, so you can register.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to register at stephenbethany.com. I thought you were going to forget to mention it.
I almost did,
because we did that last week.
Yeah, well,
we did forget to mention that.
You saved me on that. Okay, so today's topic is on the Enneagram. Now, this has been around for a little while. Let's I guess set some groundwork. Exactly what the Enneagram is.
Well, okay. I'm not really the resident expert here. We do have Jarvis on the mic because his wife has studied it for 2 years or something crazy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's into it, and her parents are into it, and somehow.
See, I had no idea. This is the thing, is I had no idea you could actually study this.
Yeah.
So
there's a ton of sources out there, tons of content that you can read. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we wanted to do, we thought, since it has been around for a while, that it might be something we could relate to ministry.
Yeah.
How are we able to tie it together? We'll do that coming up in a little bit, but let's first again set the ground rules or the foundation, I guess, as to what it is, and then what we all three scored, and kind of go from there.
So I would describe it as a 9-point personality test. And so when you take it, you're going to get type fill in the blank, and the numbers are 1 through 9. They each I think everybody has some element of their personality that they could maybe relate to a number. But the number that you are is what you relate to the most. So you take this test, and it's 50 questions or so. It's pretty in-depth.
It's in-depth. And the thing I really liked about it was the fact that it wasn't just kind of, I would say, surface questions. They kind of went pretty deep, asking you some really strong things about how you feel about different stuff or how you not feel. And I think it's very accurate. I mean, have you felt that way?
I think it is. This is the problem, though. Every time I take any kind of personality test, I'm like this across the board. Like there's parts of my personality that I just kind of pick up on in every number. And so it was kind of like that when I took the Enneagram. The number that I got was a 6. And then your wing number is the one on either side of the number that you got. So mine would either be like 5 or 7. And mine was equal. Like I'm equally 5 and equally 7 on either side of the 6.
All right, let's see. Can we see the 6 there, Jarvis? Can you bring that up on the screen? Okay. Enneagram.
The loyal guardian.
Is the loyal guardian.
That's me.
That sounds like a golden retriever.
That's basically my personality, yeah. So the 6, this is what I related to it, or how I related to it. The 6 is basically a troubleshooter. They see everything on the horizon. They see things that are potentially dangerous or potentially problematic, and they're like, not going to do that, or okay, this is how we can avoid it. So they think of the worst case scenario and how to avoid that.
That was a lot of the questions.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, best case scenario.
Are you an optimist or a pessimist?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So in this type, the loyal guardian that you are, so do you find yourself being a pessimist or an optimist or kind of in the middle?
I think I'm just kind of realistic about things. But the part that really resonated with me was that they try to just plan for the worst, and then if that doesn't happen, well, then great. And that's kind of my whole life. Like, even with this podcast, I try to think of, okay, what's our plan? How can we prepare? What if something goes wrong, or what if things aren't working? How can we just fix it? And so that's kind of how I process things. And just in my everyday life, I feel like that's how I do life. I've never really thought about it, and then taking the test, I'm like, oh, maybe that's why.
Right. Well, my mother-in-law, it sounds just like her.
Really?
She's very much. You hope for the worst, and you plan for the worst and hope for the best. Yeah, she says that all the time. All right, Jarvis, what about you? What was your score?
I scored an 8.
Okay, so what is?
The 8,
do we
really?
have an 8 on the board? What exactly is the 8?
The 8 protective challenger.
Ooh. What is that?
Is that aggressive?
It just means that you're better than all the other Enneagrams.
Okay.
Well, okay. The protective challenger. So that means you're up for a challenge. You're always looking for the next big thing.
So-
8s are kind of confrontational, right?
So basically is you just want to know why everything exists. Like why does it have to be like that? And
Okay.
it could be working. It could be working well, and like nothing's wrong with it. The saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, the 8 wants to know why. Why is it the best? Is it truly the best?
There was people. I have a cousin of mine who is a teacher, and she used to work with an exchange student, and they would be doing a math problem. 2 plus 2 is 4. She would want to know, well, why? Yeah. Why is 2 plus 2 4?
Because it is.
That wasn't the good enough answer, because she must have been an 8 on the Enneagram.
That kid's an 8, yeah.
That she wanted to know the problem. And I was always impressed with my cousin. Instead of getting frustrated like I would have and said, just shut up and learn it. She really tried to research and tried to help out and figure out the why.
That's kind of surprising to me, though, because in my mind of learning a little bit about the Enneagram, I always thought that type 8s were just like super confrontational, always up for a fight, always like argumentative. And I guess that's not true.
No.
Not always.
We just want to make sure that the best thing is really the best thing.
Okay. Oh, so you're not easily persuaded.
Well, I mean,
if somebody says this is the best thing,
you better have a good reason for it.
Yeah, okay, you
have a PowerPoint presentation explaining why.
Exactly.
All right, now mine was the type 7. So what do we got on the board for here? This is the entertaining
optimist.
Not irritating, entertaining.
I said entertaining.
I think it was a Freudian slip on your part. Entertaining optimist. Now, see, right on the surface, I think that has me pegged.
I think so,
right?
For sure.
Because
in the time that I've worked with you for going on 4 years now, yes.
Yeah.
Like you're, I think, kind of constantly like, oh, well, it's not that bad. We'll figure it out. Like, it's okay. And you kind of, you work that way.
I have a 2-word phrase.
You're solutions oriented.
That's exactly what I am. I try to find the answer in whatever happens, good, bad, or indifferent. I want to try to find the answer for it. And plus, I think a lot of the questions that I think led to me being a 7 was, okay, in this scenario, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to look for and help people? Or are you trying to, take control of the situation? And it was always for me, the first one where I was looking to help people, always trying to find the best, and whether I had the idea or you or Jarvis, whatever, let's get it together
Here's
instead of, hey, I need all the credit.
Here's my question too, because I think 7 sometimes, and I feel this too because one of my wing numbers, I guess, is a 7, and I feel this when there's maybe like a tense situation or a very emotionally heavy situation. Do you feel the need to crack a joke?
Oh, all the time.
It's so bad.
All the time.
I totally feel it, and I really have to fight it because I'm like, nope, this is not the time to be funny. Don't do it.
Well, see, that causes some friction between me and my wife because I will try to crack a joke when I know she's irritated about something.
No.
I try to make her smile. I try to do stuff, and I know she's listening right now going, yep, he does it all the time for 22 years. But that's exactly what I try to do. I try to lighten the load, try to lighten
How do you handle like funerals and stuff?
Oh, there's all kinds of things you can get into.
Do you start cracking jokes though at funerals?
Well, no, not necessarily jokes. It depends of how I knew the person and
how well you know 'em.
You know, yeah. You know, if it was somebody that I knew, I might say, well, you know, he's looking better.
Yeah,
you know,
something like that. Okay,
or
I gotcha.
he's looked better. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe that's probably better.
One of those things.
He's looked better.
But I feel that because I think there's definitely been times where I've had to just like I've thought of something just funny to say that could kind of break the tension, but then
you don't have the guts to do it.
Well, yeah, because I'm a 6, and I'm like, well, if I say this, then this will happen, and then this will happen, and then the worst thing ever.
I'll give you a great example.
Okay.
My aunt was diagnosed with some very serious cancer.
Okay.
And she went to MD Anderson, which is down in South Texas, one of the most world-renowned cancer institutes. And I remember one gathering that we had as a family not long after she got back from one of her trips to MD Anderson. And she doesn't have any hair, and she's got the little bandana and everything on. We're all in the kitchen and everything, and you could just feel the tension. And
you did not say something.
yeah, I know I did. I said, so how's the cancer treatments going? And it broke the ice. She started laughing and talking, and I mean, everybody kind of, you could feel it just melt away.
I thought you were gonna like crack a joke, or
like
something.
A bald-headed joke.
Something.
I came close.
You can't say that.
But I did feel the need. I felt like this is too awkward. We're family, for crying out loud, and we got one of our own going through a really serious time.
So you just need to get out with it.
Let's not make this any rougher than what it already is.
Yeah, let's just talk about it.
That's always my attitude about it. Okay, so that's kind of what the Enneagram is and where we line up on it. But how does that tie in with, discipleship, and how are we going to make this something where we can work through ministry-wise? Well, we'll talk about that coming up. We're going to take a little time out. We'll be right back. Stephen Bethany Hopecast.
Oh, my word.
All right, the Stephen Bethany Hopecast, as always, is brought to you by our man, Pat Davis at yourhealthplanman.com.
Yeah, and you've definitely heard us talk about him. We love what he stands for. We love his whole business, and he really wants you to be in charge of your healthcare. But just don't take our word for it. We want to introduce you to Pat Davis himself, where he can share a little bit about what he does. Hi, Pat.
Hey, how's everyone?
We're doing really well.
Wonderful. Yeah, I appreciate, as always, being able to be here with you guys, whether it's live or whatever. But I'm real excited to be able to share a little bit about what I do. For those who don't know, I'm your health plan man. My website is yourhealthplanman.com. And I do recommend you go there and look around. Maybe you're not even thinking, hey, this is a time I really need health insurance. I think we're doing pretty well. But a lot of people kind of felt that way until I had a chance to be able to show them what I'm able to do and being able to save them as much money as I have. And what's really great is my clients continually will save 30, 40, 50% or more on their monthly premiums. And that's a big deal to me. And of course, it's a big deal to my clients. But one of the greatest things about our insurance is we actually pay money for people to go to the doctor, and depending on the plan, people get some pretty nice checks back after going for just an office visit or going to urgent care or hospital. I've had tremendous experiences. My wife and I last year had $28,000 in medical bills, and get this, we had no money out of pocket at all. Wow. And that included our deductible. And on top of that, if that's not enough, we had checks totaling about another $2,700 to the good after the dust cleared. And so if you've got copays, you have deductibles, whatever it might be, I'm telling you, I can probably save you some money. And even if your insurance is through your work or your spouse's work, I have whole families leaving their work insurance and coming over with me. It's that good. On my website, yourhealthplanman.com, I recently put a report out. It's called 10 Costly Mistakes People Make Shopping Health Plans Online. I recommend you go and get that. It's free. It's just some reading that will talk to you a little bit about health plans in general. And I would just love to find a time. There's a link on there. You can just click it and schedule a time we can chat.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about what Pat was talking about. I am a real life example of this. Jarvis, we have the pictures ready. All right, Jarvis, give me the green light. So let's throw the pictures up on the video board here. This is of my recent trip to a doctor's visit. $76 is what I had to pay when I got there. Okay, that was the visit. Now, if you look right there, where's it circled in red? What does that say there, Bethany?
Total payable $180.
All right,
net
so
benefit.
let's do the math on that.
Okay.
Okay, so I pay $76 and I get back $180.
That doesn't make sense. That's not generally how health insurance works.
That's exactly the way it works with Pat Davis. Give him some time. That's all he's asking for is a chance for you to schedule a time with him, just a few minutes to sit down and to discuss how it could help you. You can get that kind of results too and save money all at the same time on monthly premiums and even co-pays and deductibles and the whole thing.
Yeah.
So check it out, Pat Davis at yourhealthplanman.com.
All right, so we are talking all about the Enneagram on today's episode. And if you're not familiar with the Enneagram, it's like a personality test that you are type 1 through 9, one of those. We took it. I'm a 6, you're a 7, Jarvis is an 8. And we kind of talked a little bit about, the things that resonated with us. But I do think this goes without saying. The Enneagram's like not the gospel. It's not this like...
For sure.
I don't know, super important, life-changing thing that if you haven't taken it, you're missing out. But I do think it can be a helpful tool to learn a little bit more about yourself and learn a little bit more about other people, especially if you're coming at it from a Christian perspective and you're maybe in ministry or serving in some way. I think it can be helpful.
Yeah, I think the word you use, tool, is really good because maybe if you haven't taken the test, you don't really know what we're talking about. But I think it can be helpful to understand your personality and maybe even get some enlightenment onto what makes you tick. And then maybe you can see others in a way that will help you understand and relate better to them. Because that's what we're all about with this Hopecast, is being able to take what we have, the gifts we have, and use them for mentorship, discipleship, to continue to live out our faith.
Well, and for example, we've talked, I think, a little bit about this before, that you're very much like fly by the seat of your pants. And then I'm much more of a planner. I like to have an idea of what we're going to be doing. I like to have kind of a schedule. And we talked about this when we were doing our morning radio show together, however long time ago. There would be so many times where we would be on air and you would say like 10 seconds before the song was going to end, hey, scratch what we were going to talk about. We're mixing it up. Just follow my lead. And I would have to be like, okay. And that was kind of hard in the beginning when we first started working together, because I would in my head think, well, I didn't plan for this. So what are we going to talk about? What am I going to say? But I realized that's a part of how you work. That's kind of a part of how I work. And eventually we figured out a rhythm and a kind of a routine of how we could work together. But it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like knowing your Enneagram type now, that totally makes sense.
Well, it does, because I do go by feel a lot.
Yeah.
Something may strike me as, okay, this doesn't fit here. And I'm not so bound by rules that just because we talked about doing it right now, that we're going to have to do it right now.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And you would always say this too. This would always make me laugh. I would say, do you think the rules just don't apply to you? And he would always be like, no, they apply unless they're stupid, in which case I'm not going to follow the rules. I'll follow rules unless they're dumb. I'm not going to do it.
That is kind of what I said.
The thing. So many times you were so right. The break didn't fit there. We did need to talk about something else. And so your gut feeling was oftentimes right. You just were willing to take that step, whereas I was more like, no, we already have something else written down. Let's just do that,
Right. And that's I think what has made us work so well is that we do know one another pretty well, and we're able to anticipate each other's strengths and weaknesses and be able to accentuate the strengths and minimize the weaknesses. And I think that's what we want to do, especially in all of our relationships. But I mean, you start in your home with your spouse and your kids. I mean, that's a lot of it right there. Knowing what kind of personality each one of them has and realizing that, especially with your kids, one size doesn't fit all.
Oh, for sure. This reminds me, a couple years ago, a lady that I know through just my family, just so she's a family friend, she's really into the Enneagram, and I at the time hadn't really heard a whole lot about it. And she was sharing her type is 5, and so that's kind of the investigator. She's very intellectual, loves to just learn and study.
I would love to be the intellectual.
Oh yeah, well she's brilliant and just really, really well-rounded as a person. But she's also introverted and likes her space and kind of feels really emotionally depleted if she's been around people for a long time. She homeschools all 3 of her kids. And so I asked her, I said, well, how do you do that? Being that introvert, being so, I guess kind of needing to ration your emotions or in your energy. How do you homeschool your kids? Because they're bouncing off the walls. They're running off all over the place. How do you do that? And she said, I've had to learn to give to my kids, do what they need to do and put them first. But there comes a time at the end of the day where I tell them, okay, you're going to hang out with your dad. I'm going to go read a book in my room and I need just my space. And she's kind of verbalized that to her kids and to her husband. And I think that's so smart of knowing I'm going to give what I need to, but also I need to take care of myself and not just overextend myself where then I'm not being the mom I need to be.
And so many people will hear you say that, moms, I'm talking about, that's being selfish.
Yeah.
Or I can't do that. Well, yes, you probably can, and you probably need to.
Yeah. And I'm sure your spouse would be happy to help you. Or even if you're a single mom, I'm sure there are so many people around that would be willing to step in and watch your kids while you go get a manicure.
Right. No, exactly. I think that's absolutely true. And you have to be able to do that and to be able to continue to pour in to those people in your life. If you don't take care of yourself, because we tend to want to shy away from that as Christians.
For sure.
Because we're all about, Jesus and others and then you, the whole JOY acronym and everything. But I think that's very important. And I think too, when you start talking about this Enneagram stuff, it can really help with conflict and conflict resolution. Because look, we all have bosses. We all have people that are difficult to deal with. And sometimes if you can, maybe even if they haven't taken the test, at least maybe look through the 9 different types and kind of identify maybe what that person is. Maybe you can make some inroads in building some bridges and not have that conflict as much.
I think even talking like with coworkers, some people might feel like, oh, you're being really confrontational and being really aggressive with me when that's not your intention. You're just bringing up, hey, I think you could do this better, or hey, I've seen this in you, or whatever. But yeah, like what you're saying, knowing other people's types of how they maybe perceive you, and then adjusting your approach of, hey, they don't like conflict, so I really have to be careful of how I approach them.
I got to give a shout out to a friend of mine. Her name is Christine, and she runs a magazine. She owns a magazine. And she is the best manager of people I've ever encountered.
Really?
Because she is able to identify each one of those type personalities and be able to relate with them. Now, obviously it doesn't always go smooth a lot of times because sometimes you have to do confrontational things. But I think she has done such a good job with the people she's been around of knowing their personality and how sometimes people need to be, your personality might be, you need to be talked to, point finger in the face. Yeah. This is what I need you to do. I need you to shape up or ship out. Let's get it done. Or maybe it's a little more, hey, let's talk about what's going on.
Yeah,
Tell me
be a little bit more gentle.
A little more gentle. Yeah. a little more reasonable. That kind of thing. And she is amazing at doing that.
That's so cool.
It really is. And she's somebody I just look up to for that reason, because I'm like, I would love to work for her. You know what I mean? I think she's the greatest boss. I really do.
We need to hire her just to be our boss, just so we get to interact with her.
I'm telling you, Christine is a phenomenal person. But I do encourage you, if you haven't taken the Enneagram test, go ahead and take it. It'll take you about 5 or so minutes to go through. But I think the most important thing is to be honest.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, just answer as honestly as you can, be as unbiased as you can. It's not about, I don't think there's a wrong type. There's nothing bad about any of the types. There's nothing wrong with it. So you just have to take it, be honest. And then also, like I said earlier, take everything with a grain of salt. I think, especially if you're a believer, be open to maybe changes in your personality, things that are not so great about whatever number that you come out to be, and be open to being a little bit flexible as the Lord leads and guides you, I think.
I think absolutely right. That is it. So we've got it posted for you in the show notes. So if you're listening, you can just scroll over the art and you'll see the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously it's right there. You can get the Enneagram link and go take the test and make sure that you take it and you use it as a part of being a disciple to make you and everyone around you better for Christ.
Well, hey, if you haven't become a patron, you totally should. When you become a patron of the Steve and Bethany Hopecast, it really is a great way to just connect a little bit more with the podcast, let your voice be heard. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/Steve and Bethany's Hopecast. Don't miss out on the S with Steve and Bethany's Hopecast. But it'll be a great way for you to learn a little bit more about the show, but then also share your thoughts, and you get a ton of perks.
You really do. And we've got it redesigned. I think Jarvis is going to put it on the screen. Look at that.
Look at that.
Nice. There's a nice little picture of us there. And then you see the two levels we have here, $5 a month and $15 a month. And you do get some different kind of goodies. But basically, the main reason we want you to join us on Patreon is because of the vision that we have for this podcast, of being able to encourage and disciple people together. I mean, as a kind of a family, as a kind of a community.
Yeah.
If you buy into that and you really think that's something that's needed, help us continue to produce this, because I got to tell you, there's not very many podcasts that have the lighting, the cameras, the mics, this setup that we have.
Production quality.
The production quality is top shelf that we do here. And we want everything to be excellent. And in order to continue to do that, we need some help deferring the cost. But you're right, we have a lot of rewards that we offer people. In fact, we just had one of our first ones was our virtual coffee house with Patreon member Richard.
Yeah, it was super fun. It's just a one-on-one kind of hangout where we FaceTime a patron and chat a little bit about their life. We asked Richard, what are his thoughts of the podcast? What does he want us to talk about? We asked him, how can we be praying for you? So we really want to take that chance to get to know you more as an individual. And then also, you get the show early, you get access to merch, you get access to all kinds of special exclusive content, all kinds of things like that. And ad free too. You wouldn't even get this ad if you were a member of Patreon. So check it out. Patreon.com/Steve and Bethany's Hopecast. Patreon.com/Steve and Bethany's Patreon.com/Steve and Bethany's Hopecast. I know, I'm a professional. Patreon.com/Steve and Bethany's Hopecast. Join us and help us continue this dream. Well done. So at the top of the show, you mentioned that we have people all around the world listening. And that is so true. And this is what's crazy. We have people in France listening.
Yeah. Now, whoever listens in France, and Jarvis, can you pronounce the city that it comes from? Because I can't.
No.
See, I can't pronounce the city, but
we don't know.
That person or group of people have been with us almost since day one.
We really need to have them. Okay, sir or madam, if you are watching or listening in France, we need to get a guide of how to say the town's name.
Not only that, we would love just to say hi.
With you. Say hi. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So please get in touch with us. Comment on the YouTube or send us an email. Something. Let us know. But Jarvis sent me the statistics, and which, by the way, I need the link again, Jarvis. I've lost it. Well, because the username and password got messed up. Anyway, so I was looking at it, and not only have we had France, we kind of take that for granted now because he's been with us for so long, or she has been with us for so long. But now someone in Scotland has given us a chance.
And Uganda.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Because you said you have some friends that are missionaries over there, and you said you were like, oh, you need to listen. And so they started listening. They commented on a few things. They're like, we're listening in Uganda. That totally made my day when I saw that.
It really is. There's some really good people there, and they're doing some amazing work, working with kids, feeding kids, keeping kids sheltered, and keeping kids educated. I could go on and on about those folks down there. They're doing an amazing job, and shout out to all of those folks in Uganda that listen as well. But we're so thankful for everybody jumping on board and being a part of this Hopecast, because I got to thinking about this just the other day is, you know, even though this is kind of a dream that you and I have had together, you know, it really is bigger than us.
Oh, completely.
You know? It's something to encourage people to, no matter whether you're living in Scotland or living in Uganda or in the United States, you can live for Jesus and impact your world.
Well, and we all, I think, feel different highs and lows, and we have common struggles, and there's times where I think we can forget our commonalities a lot of the time. We think I'm the only one that's dealing with this. And so our hope for the Hopecast is that when we share our struggles or the things that we're dealing with, somebody listening will say, okay, me too.
Right.
And I'm not alone in this, and then build community that way. That's the goal.
It also bringing together practical ways from you and I and our experiences, Jarvis' experience, and even you listening and watching your experiences in living life and how you have been able to continue to walk with Christ amidst all the junk you've gone through. You know what I mean? Encouraging one another with those stories and stuff. I just think it's so cool. And it almost is, you know, it's like what Paul was talking about in one of his letters, you know, that you encourage one another in the faith. You know, I think that's what this is all about. So it's been so much fun. And so we want to ask you to tell your friends to leave us a 5-star review.
Follow us on social media.
Follow us on social media. Join us on Patreon. And the reason we're so adamant about that, we keep asking about that, is because the more the word gets out, the more the podcast will grow. And that's the ultimate goal.
Right, exactly. So if you haven't, be sure to follow us on social media, Stephen Bethany's Hopecast, everywhere you go. So just follow us there. You can also join us on Patreon. You heard us talk about that a little bit earlier. Just go to patreon.com/Stephen Bethany's Hopecast. And that really, really helps us as a podcast, as a business. It's great.
It's tiers start at less than $5 a month, or at $5 a month, up to a $15 tier. But whatever you choose, it helps us continue with what you're seeing, the lights, the cameras, the microphones, the whole deal. So please consider joining us. Think about it, pray about it, and you can be a part of it. But again, we want to ask you to, probably the main thing is to tell your friends. Make sure you have found a new podcast and you want them to listen to. That would be amazing. That would be meaning more than just what we could ever say.
Is that going to wrap it up for episode 9?
I think that wraps it up.
We're done.
Yeah, we are done. Good night, Olive Branch.